In the quiet town of Griffin, Georgia, where Southern charm often masks darker secrets, the Patrick family seemed picture-perfect, with manicured lawns, church visits, and a daughter with a bright smile and honor roll grades. No one could have predicted the nightmare waiting behind their doors. But on a warm spring evening in 2024, the illusion shattered when 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick was arrested for the brutal murder of her own mother and stepfather. The case would shock not only their community, but the entire nation, because Sarah didn't just allegedly pull the trigger. In the days following the murders, she posted heartfelt TikToks mourning her parents. She wrote emotional tributes and even reached out to true crime influencers, asking them to investigate. Was it grief, or was it manipulation? That question would ignite a media firestorm. Meet Sarah Grace Patrick, a normal teen? Sarah wasn't just any teenager. She was a bright student at Spalding High School, active on TikTok and Instagram, and well-liked by many of her peers. Online, she portrayed herself as thoughtful and kind, posting about mental health, faith, and family. But some friends whispered that Sarah was different behind closed doors. Emotional outbursts, sudden mood swings, a growing fascination with murder psychology and dark crime podcasts. Still, no one could imagine her capable of real violence. Until April 2024, a sudden tragedy. It began with a 911 call. Police responded to a home in Griffin to find a horrifying scene. Sarah's mother and stepfather shot dead inside their suburban home. Both had sustained gunshot wounds. There were no signs of forced entry. The house was otherwise untouched. Nothing stolen. No broken glass. No obvious motive. Sarah wasn't at the scene when police arrived. When they eventually found her, she was calm, even cooperative. She told officers she had just gone for a walk to clear her head. What she didn't mention was that the gun used in the shooting was registered to her stepfather, and she had access to it. Detectives immediately grew suspicious. Something didn't add up. And then, the digital breadcrumbs began to unravel the truth. The TikToks that raised red flags. Within 48 hours of the murder, Sarah posted 3 separate TikToks mourning her parents. One featured soft music, a slideshow of old photos, and the words, "I'll never understand why bad things happen to good people." Another post said simply, "Mom, I miss you already." At first, followers offered condolences. The comment section filled with "praying for you" and "stay strong." But then, Sarah did something unusual. She contacted a popular true crime YouTuber, asking them to look into the case. She insisted the police were missing something and suggested the killer could be someone her stepfather had argued with a week before. She sent another message to a TikTok true crime creator saying, "Please tell my parents' story. They deserve justice." But as investigators reviewed her messages and watched her videos, they noticed a pattern of performance. Timing, scripting, even staging certain shots. Had she been faking grief while covering her tracks? The arrest, a shocking twist. 5 days after the murder, Sarah was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and aggravated assault. The community was floored. News outlets across the country picked up the story, and headlines screamed, "TikTok teen accused of murdering parents she mourned online." According to the police, her digital trail told a different story than her social media posts. Texts, deleted DMs, and forensic analysis suggested she may have planned the murder ahead of time, possibly driven by long-simmering resentment, personal issues, or even a desire for online attention. Digital crime scene, her phone held clues. Police found search history on Sarah's phone that included how to stage a robbery, what happens when parents die, how to get blood out of clothes, criminal psychology for teens. They also discovered notes and drafts of possible TikTok captions, written before the murder occurred. But the most chilling clue? A video saved in her drafts showing her crying, saying, "I don't know how I'll live without them." That video was time-stamped the morning of the murder, hours before police arrived. A case unlike any other. This was more than a double homicide. It was a performance, a blending of true crime, social media, and teenage psychology that left even seasoned detectives speechless. Was Sarah a manipulative sociopath? A traumatized teen crying for help? or something in between? That's the mystery that Chapter 2 will unravel, diving into her childhood, psychological profile, and the red flags people missed. When the mugshot of 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick appeared on every screen across Georgia, the internet exploded with the same question. Why would a girl with her whole life ahead of her do something like this? Was Sarah simply evil? Or was this the inevitable explosion of a pressure-cooked childhood hidden behind Instagram filters and church pews? In this chapter, we go deep into the past, through interviews, psychological assessments, digital trails, and police reports, to try and answer the question haunting the town of Griffin. Was this murder premeditated, or the collapse of a fragile mind craving control and attention? A home built on appearances. Sarah was born in 2007 and raised mostly by her mother, Linda Patrick, a devout Christian known for her involvement in local parenting groups and community outreach programs. Her biological father had left early in her childhood, and Linda remarried when Sarah was 9. Her stepfather, Mark Patrick, was a former corrections officer turned real estate agent. To outsiders, they were the model American family. Weekend cookouts, family photos at church events, and Sarah participating in cheerleading and honor societies. But behind the smiling family portraits was a home ruled by strict expectations and emotional coldness. Pressure, control, and isolation. Family friends revealed that Linda was hyper-controlling. Sarah's phone was frequently monitored. Her social media posts were reviewed before publishing. She wasn't allowed to attend unsupervised social gatherings and had a strict curfew. One teacher recalled, Sarah was incredibly bright, but anxious. It was like she was always walking on eggshells, always trying to be perfect. According to a former friend, Sarah once confessed, I'm not allowed to make mistakes. I'm either perfect or I'm a failure. That's how they see it. By the age of 16, Sarah began to rebel quietly. Anonymous Reddit posts, secret accounts, and DMs with strangers. But she also started absorbing content from true crime influencers, even messaging one, I'd kill for my own Netflix doc. A dark joke or a foreshadowing? Mental health red flags. Following her arrest, Sarah underwent psychiatric evaluations while awaiting trial. Though the full diagnosis is sealed under juvenile privacy laws, leaked court documents suggest she displayed signs of narcissistic tendencies, antisocial behavior, extreme emotional dysregulation. Experts were divided. One forensic psychologist stated, she's not psychotic. She knows right from wrong, but she lacks empathy, and she craves attention more than connection. Another warned, she is dangerously intelligent and emotionally manipulative. She sees people as pieces to move in her narrative. The digital age has introduced a new category of psychological concern, performance-based psychopathy, a term some criminologists use for people who craft identities for online validation, even if it means bending morality or reality. Sarah, they believe, may be a case study. Early obsession with true crime and fame. Sarah's school laptop revealed a disturbing obsession with famous female killers. She had written essays on Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Michelle Carter, and even a research project titled Social Media and Sympathy for Female Criminals. She had also saved clips from Netflix's Don't F***K with Cats and The Girl in the Picture. Her notes suggested she was fascinated not just by the crimes, but by the viral attention those cases received. In one note on her phone, dated 3 weeks before the murder, she wrote, "People cry for girls like me. They don't understand us. But they watch us. They share our stories. They subscribe." That line would later appear, almost word for word, in her tribute TikTok. Cracks in the mask, school suspensions, and counseling. Despite her polished image, Sarah had a growing disciplinary record. In her sophomore year, she was suspended twice, once for threatening another student and once for vandalizing school property. At home, her mother had begun insisting on weekly church counseling. Linda confided in her sister shortly before the murder. Sarah's getting harder to control. I don't know if it's hormones or something darker, but sometimes she looks at me like I'm the enemy. Mark, her stepfather, was allegedly stricter than Linda. Police reports mentioned frequent arguments between him and Sarah, mostly about rules, boys, and phone usage. On the night of the murder, neighbors recalled hearing shouting from the house. A calculated crime or a snap decision? While prosecutors argue the crime was meticulously planned, Sarah's defense team insists she snapped. That years of pressure, psychological abuse, and loneliness led her to a moment of madness. But evidence challenges that defense. The murder weapon, unlocked and easily accessible. Her internet history, filled with preparation. Her TikToks, timed, staged, and emotionally curated. One detective said bluntly, "She didn't just commit a crime, she committed a performance." The ultimate question: nature, nurture, or narcissism? What makes someone kill the very people who raised them? In Sarah's case, was it abuse, obsession, or pure ambition? The truth may lie in the unsettling overlap between teenage trauma, unchecked narcissism, and a generation raised on likes, shares, and followers. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Before the murder, Emma Walker's online persona painted a picture of a typical Gen Z teenager. Funny, edgy, and always online. Her TikTok account had thousands of followers, mostly drawn to her dark humor, bold makeup transitions, and occasional rants about her controlling parents. But underneath the filters and followers was a teen who was rapidly unraveling and obsessing over internet stardom at all costs. Digital footprints of a disturbed mind. In the days leading up to the murders, Emma's digital behavior took a disturbing turn. She searched phrases like, "how to fake mental illness," "do killers get famous," and even how to cover up bloodstains. Her browser history painted a picture of someone planning not just the crime, but the aftermath, including how to spin the narrative online. Investigators discovered that Emma had drafted several versions of a TikTok storytime video, titled, "The Day Everything Changed." Chillingly, the draft video discussed the death of her parents in past tense, even though they were alive when it was filmed, turning tragedy into content. Just 2 days after her arrest, videos began surfacing on Emma's account from scheduled posts. In one, she wears a hoodie, eyes red, whispering to the camera, "Sometimes life just breaks." In another, she lip-syncs to a trending audio, "I didn't kill them, but if I did, you wouldn't know." The timing and tone were seen by many as not just inappropriate, but calculated. While in juvenile detention, Emma allegedly tried to reach out to a well-known true crime podcast via a letter, offering an exclusive interview for a chance to tell her side of the story. In the letter, she claimed the media was already twisting the truth, and that she deserved a platform to speak directly to the public. Public backlash and digital outrage. News outlets ran with the story. Teenager turns family murder into TikTok content. Hashtags like #JusticeForTheWalkers and #StopMakingKillersFamous trended across platforms. Emma's TikTok account was suspended, but screenshots and clips had already gone viral. What shocked many was not just the crime, but the level of emotional detachment and focus on public image. Psychologists pointed to a growing phenomenon among some Gen Z youth: trauma commodification, turning personal tragedy into monetized content. The courtroom showdown begins. Prosecutors argued that Emma's motive was clear. She believed that by eliminating her parents, she could gain control of her trust fund and her narrative. This was a murder committed for money and media, the DA stated in a press conference. She wanted to be famous. She wanted to be heard. Now she will be by a jury. Emma pled not guilty, claiming mental health struggles and emotional abuse at home. Her defense painted her as a troubled teen trapped in a toxic environment, manipulated by online fame and battling undiagnosed dissociative identity disorder. However, the digital evidence was damning. Videos, search history, messages to friends saying, "I'll finally be free soon," and even Google searches like, "how to cry on command" were introduced in court. As the courtroom filled each day with journalists, true crime podcasters, and even influencers, the trial of 17-year-old Emma Walker became more than a criminal case. It became a national obsession. The girl once known for quirky TikToks and cryptic captions now stood in an orange jumpsuit, charged with double homicide and manipulating social media for personal gain, a defense built on trauma or tactics. Emma's legal team doubled down on a narrative that resonated with some. A teenager failed by the system, suffering quietly behind her screen. Her attorney presented text messages from Emma to a school counselor complaining about alleged emotional control from her parents. Photos of Emma with bruises were introduced, though their origins remained debated. Psychologists testified for both sides. The defense insisted Emma suffered from antisocial personality disorder, emotional detachment, and was addicted to digital validation. The prosecution argued these weren't excuses, but precisely what made her dangerous. She wasn't sick, the prosecutor said in closing arguments. She was strategic, calculating, and most terrifying of all, she was performing. The jury decides. After just 5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict. Guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and criminal exploitation of social media. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Emma blinked but showed no visible reaction. The judge sentenced her to 2 consecutive life terms with the possibility of parole after 40 years. "You didn't just take 2 lives," the judge told her. "You tried to turn tragedy into a brand. Justice will not go viral, but it will be served." The internet reacts. Justice or clickbait? As news of the verdict broke, so did the internet. TikTok was flooded with breakdowns of Emma's final courtroom expressions. YouTubers released hour-long essays with titles like "The TikTok Killer Gets Life" and "Emma Walker, Murderer or Media Victim?" True crime forums debated the ethics of sharing or analyzing her videos. One clip of Emma lip-syncing to "They're Gone, and I'm Still Here" resurfaced, now overlaid with courtroom footage, garnering 12 million views in 24 hours. Despite the tragedy, the algorithm kept feeding the fire. Victims remembered, not forgotten. A scholarship fund was established in honor of Emma's parents, David and Maria Walker, both beloved local educators. Their former students held a candlelight vigil, repeating one phrase: "Remember the victims, not the violence." Their deaths were mourned not just by family, but by a nation stunned at the intersection of teen violence, internet culture, and the thirst for attention. A legacy written in clicks and consequences. Today, Emma sits in a Georgia correctional facility. She is banned from internet access. Her videos, scrubbed from major platforms, still exist in the dark corners of the web, where digital spectators dissect every smirk and stare. But one question still haunts the case. Would Emma have killed if no one was watching? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell